Welcome to the Chapter 1 podcast, your inside look at the people powering Charlotte's business scene, real stories, real entrepreneurs here in the Queen City. Today we're here with Stacy Sweeney of Optihealth and Optivet, something that we're going to dig into a little bit. But Stacy, we're glad to have you here, and let's start at Chapter 1. What brought you here to Charlotte? How did you get here to the Queen City? And then we'll kind of dig into what you do.
That's a great question. So, raised in Wyoming, but my husband was as well, but his mom was from North Carolina. So he always wanted to be in North Carolina. We were actually up in Boone. He was working for Samaritan's Purse, and we were driving our son down to run with a professional running coach in Mooresville. And so while he practiced, I drove all over Mooresville, and we all decided this is where we needed to be. No more winter. Love the area, love the people. The people were super friendly.
I'm from the other direction, so for me it was this is the long winters coming here to Charlotte. Most people laugh at that, but from being from Miami, it's cold here. So your family brought you down here to Charlotte, North Carolina. Tell me a little bit about family life. How did that? Again, we're going to want to get to know you personally a little bit here before we dive into the company stuff. So tell me a little bit about your family.
Sure. I'm married to Mike. We met in the 5th grade in Wyoming, but we've been married for 31 years, almost 32 years. We have 9 kids. 6 of those are through adoption, and a set of triplets. So our triplets just turned 27, and now we have 4 grandbabies. So that's what is really, really fun.
Wow. So if I were to ask you your hobbies, is it just like with 9 kids? Is it just family and like there's nothing? Like, what do you find yourself doing when you're not working?
So they're all adults now, which is really, really nice, and that gets us back into what we love to do, right? So we go hiking a lot. We love just to be outside. We love to spend time with our grandkids. Just taught our grandson how to play pickleball this weekend, and that was so fun at age 5, right? He wants to do everything. He's super curious, so it's a lot of fun.
Pickleball, man, my whole family's into pickleball, and I'm like just really fighting to get into it because I have all these other sports I like to do, and I'm like not giving up yet and giving into this pickleball fad. But they love it so much, and I've played quite a bit of pickleball with them, so I understand the draw, I guess.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's something that you miss about home? I mean, obviously, it sounds like you really like Charlotte, but is there something about is there nothing about back home that you miss? I mean, tell me about it.
You know, we're both small town Wyoming people, so the growth of the area has been a little bit overwhelming to us. When we moved to Mooresville, it was during COVID, so it was slow. Wow. It felt like that small town. So we're trying, on our weekend adventures, we go into those small towns and we experience that again.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the opposite for me growing up in such a big city in Miami. But I definitely have seen the growth in so I've been here about 7 years. Okay. And just in that time, I mean, I've seen it feels like it's grown like twice as big as it was before. And I'm not even that far into Charlotte.
Right, right.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your professional life, I guess. When you started working, was the idea just to launch this nonprofit, Optihealth, and again, you're going to tell me how that relates to OptiVets and how that all works, but was that the first step, or were there other adventures that eventually led you there?
Yeah, my husband is a serial entrepreneur. So he followed me into this path of health. I'm a PT by training, but I stayed home and raised our kids for a long time, homeschooled them. So when we got back into the world, it was really because for me to get back in the working world, it was for me to help people based on things we'd been through. So we'd been through some hard things with adoption, right? And we found some really good tools that could help our kids not only through trauma, but help their brains work better. I have an autoimmune disease, and so that led us into learning more about functional medicine. And then we were both professional health coaches, and everyone that we were coaching did everything really, really well, right? They ate well, they worked out really hard, but they didn't recover at all. And so that was kind of the missing key. So those 3 things worked together to form the business of Optihealth. And then out of that, we knew we had an answer to treat trauma. And our biggest population surrounding us is our veterans who have significant trauma that trickles down into their families, trauma that impacts everyone around them, even their ability to work. And so every time the science supported a new trauma treatment, we added it to what we call the Opti protocol. we didn't intend to start a nonprofit. We intended to treat trauma, but the VA doesn't pay for this kind of care. And so to offer it, it's pricey. We use state-of-the-art technologies, and so we needed to form the nonprofit so other people could pitch in and help cover the cost of care.
So in those earlier phases, what were some of the hurdles that you guys had to go through? I imagine this is a big undertaking.
It is, learning how to operate a health clinic, right? That's new and different for both of us. I've been in healthcare for a long time, but Mike's entrepreneurial business was in construction and oil field management. So that was probably the biggest hurdle, right? And then we heard early on, it's going to take 2 years for people to really understand what you're doing. And we thought, wow, we were so naive. We thought, no, they'll see this. They'll understand when hyperbaric oxygen can help somebody so quickly. But it has taken 2 full years. We've been open for 2 years, and now we're just getting that traffic that is kind of continuous through the door.
So again, 2 years, so it's kind of still in the younger phases. I'm just thinking about to my own endeavors, and I feel like 2 years tends to be that mark that is kind of like, that's when things either grow or they don't. So you might be really right on that cusp of when I ask these questions of, in those beginning stages, you might be like, oh, in some of those, it still feels like we're there. But when you were launching this, what was the marketing side of things? I mean, how was it that you wanted to get the name out? What did that look like 2 years ago?
Again, I think I was pretty naive there. I just thought I had this great concept and I was going to put it out there and people would come. But we still have people that come through the door and they say, I had no idea you were here, which floors us, right? Because we're on social media, we've hired marketing firms, we have a great website, great SEO optimization. It's just really sharing the story. And the more people that we have in and they get better, whether it's an athlete, right, and they're performing better in their sport, or it's an executive and he's doing better at his job because he's fully recovered, when they share their story, that's how people come in the door.
Yeah. So what part of this process? Because it sounds like, again, I know business ownership, but nonprofit is a world that it seems overwhelming to me. What elements of that? If I were to ask you what the thing you love most is about what you do, how would you answer that?
Restoring hope. Yeah. So when people come in, veterans come in, it doesn't even have to be veterans. We've treated one of the police officers who was shot in Charlotte. And just seeing somebody who's been through something traumatic, hasn't slept. So by week 3 of our program, they come in and they say, I slept through the night last night. That's when we know we're making a difference, right? And then about week 4, we say they find they're funny. People can joke with us. They can kid my staff. They can really engage. And then you start seeing healing happen. And then we hear from family members. And they say, wow, Dad's not as explosive at home. Or Dad's engaged with me. He's not in his phone all day long, So he's really taking part in life. That is fun. I would say our entire staff loves the Optivets program because we get to be so involved in people's lives and we get to see that hope restored.
That's awesome. What's the process look like for somebody that wants to take, if you are a police officer who's looking for help in that way? How does that work with you guys? Like, how do they get in contact with you? So
they just call Optihealth. They fill out an application. Right now, we are in a holding pattern until we receive more funding. We're waiting to hear on a big grant from the VA. If we got that, we could get 40 people through immediately. That would be amazing. If Hurricane Helene wouldn't have hit, I truly believe we would have had some state funding for this program, but they needed to repair those roads this year. So we have some support at the state level too. We are doing we actually started a third business called Optivet Solutions, where we help veterans obtain durable medical equipment from the VA that helps them. It's free to the veteran, but the commission that we get from that, we hope within another month we'll be able to offset the cost of the Optivet program. So we're helping veterans in a number of ways.
Awesome. So when you guys, again, because the the nonprofit world is a little bit different than the business world, are there ever problems when it comes to maybe nonprofits that are very similar, and then you guys are struggling with, why is this a helpful tool? Don't we have these other options? What makes you guys unique?
Yeah, so our whole approach is very different than the other veteran nonprofits in the area because we truly work to heal the brain. We're not giving tools for someone to survive with that brain injury, and trauma is a brain injury. For example, one of our veterans obtained a Purple Heart home, which is an amazing thing, a small home at a discounted price. She obtained a service dog, but she still had suicidal ideation every single day. So I really think there are partnership opportunities with these other nonprofits. As someone's waiting for a new home, let's treat their mental health. And so when they get in that, then they can fully enjoy that and they can fully engage with their community.
So for you, you've been doing this for a couple years, but it sounds like you've already kind of gone through a whole lot of these things. Like for somebody that's only been doing it for 2 years, I'm surprised to hear all this. But for somebody else that I guess has an inkling, maybe not to start a nonprofit, but maybe to start a nonprofit, what is some advice that you would give that person as far as just the things that you've seen and stuff that they could prepare for? Like how would they get started with this?
So I would find like-minded people to be on their board, people that have a similar story and have a network, right? So our board is fantastic. We have some veterans, we have some veteran spouses, we have some business owners that have connections in the community. So that we've kind of got a mixed board. But, I think that's the first step. And like I said, we didn't plan to start a nonprofit, so we were putting all of that in place after we said, oh my gosh, we need to find funding for this program. So coming in with your board in place and everything in place at the start would be a lot less stressful than what we did.
Yeah. So what are some of do you guys do events now? Like what are some of the ways that you I mean, this is kind of in the same realm as marketing, but what are some of the ways that you kind of get the name out there? What are some of the events that you guys do?
So the last big event, and you all provided great video coverage for that, was a kickball tournament. And it was a bunch of networking chapters. It was through BNI, and we got great support that day. We actually raised a third of the funds for someone to go through the program on that day. It was fantastic. We have a not a kickball, but a pickleball tournament, back to pickleball, coming up this next month. We don't have the date specifically for that. It's a brand new pickleball group in Mooresville who's going to do it as soon as they open, and they've had a couple hiccups in their opening. And then we've got a lot of grant applications out there.
Awesome. So tell me about the connection with Optihealth, OptiVets. You spoke a little bit about how that kind of happened and the differences. Tell me a little bit more. Dig a little bit more into the differences there and just the kind of the reasoning behind kind of starting those things, and if there are more that you plan to kind of segment off onto in the future.
Sure. So Optihealth is the integrative wellness center that we own, and it has all of the modalities or all the healing tools that we need to operate the OptiVets protocol or the Opti protocol. So OptiVets runs out of Optihealth. It's a multimodality approach for anyone that comes in the doors. We have a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. We have a medical grade chamber. My entire staff is certified in hyperbaric safety. So I can guarantee somebody's going to get a great experience if they come for hyperbaric oxygen. We do neurofeedback for brainwave retraining. We have red light therapy for decreasing inflammation. Our veterans get an NAD infusion for boosting mitochondrial health, so they have more energy. I health coach everyone who goes through the program, because if somebody's coming in and they're eating like garbage, they're kind of taking away from the effect of the program, right? Because we're trying to heal the brain, heal the body. So we talk about brain healthy diets. We talk about exercise, stress management, those types of things. And then we start them on a supplement right away that works on the gut-brain axis, and it decreases anxiety, decreases depression, increases those positive feelings. And I say that I'm thrilled that we've added that in, because people start feeling better than what my modalities actually will help them feel better for. Mm-hmm. So they're more compliant. They're very, what's the word I'm looking for? They want to move ahead with the program, and everything we ask them to do, they do. We haven't had anybody drop out of the program, which is great. But those same tools are available to anybody in the Lake Norman community, whether it's trying to heal from a chronic neurological issue, just wanting to age better. So longevity, we're going to give a talk on longevity at the end of the month and how these tools can help. They help with brain health. So, I do a lot of reversing Alzheimer's health coaching, and these tools are part of that protocol. And we're seeing people get better and function better and learn better and have better memory. So it's all very exciting.
And so it's not just, you hear OptiVet and you kind of think, okay, military. You mentioned, that a police officer has been one of your clients. Is this like a service for everybody? Like, am I, as I'm hearing this, I'm like, do I have to be, somebody who's gone through, I've just owned a company and I used to play volleyball, for a living. Like, so what are the things that I'm dealing with that I could actually go and use your services?
Oh, absolutely. So you could come in, we offer full metabolic testing so we can get a VO2 max for somebody who's wanting to be more active and wanting some answers there. We have an exercise with oxygen training system. That's a high altitude trainer. So again, those weekend warrior type of activities get a little bit easier when you train at altitude, which is pretty tricky around here. Red light's great for everyone. I would say it's the fan favorite at Optihealth. Everybody loves the red light bed. It makes you feel good. It decreases inflammation, gives you more energy. So the tools are really for everyone, and we can customize a plan for everyone that comes in the door.
That's awesome. Well, in this amount of time you've been doing this, again, 2 years, doesn't sound like a lot. It sounds like it's been a whole lot in those 2 years. Have there been any stories that are just worth sharing? Like maybe a situation that happened that you didn't think would happen. You thought, yeah, this is what it's going to be like, and then all of a sudden, something like this happened. Are there any of those stories that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, and this family has shared their story on our website. So we had a client who struggled with a chronic neurological issue, had difficulty with balance, difficulty walking, difficulty swallowing. But the hyperbaric chamber is amazing for that. NAD infusions coupled with that is amazing to decreasing neurological inflammation. And so this client is she's walking better. We can understand her when she talks. She's enjoying life now. Mm. And, in the allopathic medicine world, there aren't a lot of tools like that. If we were in Europe, this would be common treatment for everybody for everything, including all the athletes would be in my hyperbaric chamber, right? And we're just a little slower to lean into those devices.
Mm. Stacy, thank you so much for coming on our show, for giving us some time. We loved having you on. If people wanted to get in contact with you, how could they get in contact with you?
Call Optihealth. We are in Mooresville, right across from the YMCA. We do free meet and greets. And I will say this, anyone on my staff can put together a program for someone who comes in the door. If they say, I'm an athlete, I want to optimize what I'm doing, I'm in my 60s, I want to age better, I have the best staff around, and I know that they can meet people where they're at.
Awesome. And as always, I'm Greg Prinz, host of the Chapter 1 podcast. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. Links will be below in the description. And until next time, this is the Chapter 1 podcast.